There it is. If you are able, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Chair Gabriel,
Here.
Vice Chair Reveal,
Here.
Moffus,
Here.
Roar,
Here.
Sartay.
Here.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I second.
Thank you. Are there any revisions to the agenda? Are there any objections to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak to any item not appearing on the agenda? Is there anyone online? Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the November 12, 2024 minutes?
I make a motion to approve the November 12, 2024 minutes.
Can I have a second?
And I second.
Thank you. Are there any revisions to the minutes? Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing no objections, the minutes are approved. Our unfinished business, we have none. And move on over to, may I have a motion to approve the Harbor Commission 2024 annual report for submission to the City Council?
I make a motion to approve the Harbor Commission 2024 annual report for submission to the City Council.
May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All right, do we have a staff report?
So this is the report that was put together by the commission here for the work plan that was adopted. As it says in the report, this wasn't adopted until August 12th, so the Harbor Commission did not convene at that time afterwards. So essentially, it's just reporting that no work was done.
Okay, thank you. Questions or commission discussion? All right, we're going to go ahead and call for a vote. I need a motion. We got the main motion here. Is someone going to ask for unanimous consent?
I'd like to ask for unanimous consent.
Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. All right, so the work plan for 2025. We have a discussion. Do you have a report on that for us? Okay.
Essentially, as the report before it stated, this is discussion for the commission to have, but whether you want to move forward recommending the same plan that was adopted at the end of the year last year so that you can carry forward these recommendations into this year, as there wasn't really any time to work on them last year.
Okay, discussion from the commission? So the question is, will we use the same work goal for 2020, 2025, or develop new goals? I would entertain a motion.
I move that we go ahead and approve the goals from 2024 for going forward for 2025 and submit them to the council for approval.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion, amendments to that? Yep.
Thank you. I think with there being as many new commissioners as there are, maybe it'd be worthwhile to explain what these work plans are. And I know that was helpful for me as a commissioner when we were doing them. Maybe it would be helpful for this group as well.
We have a motion on the table, but discussion is still out there, so would you care to explain what we have here?
So all of the various commissions within the city of Kenai are essentially tasked with putting together a work plan for their calendar year. These plans essentially are for the commissioners to develop the things that they'd like to focus on for their commission, depending on whether it's Parks and Rec or beautification or the harbor. So this is the task of things that was developed by the Harbor Commission last year, working on signage, reducing fish waste, conducting a server for the harbor use, reviewing the waterfront revitalization plan, parking areas for the dock and dip netting, exploring other sources of income, and reviewing the 2030 comp plan in regards to the dock. So again, these are things that city staff are along to support where we can in these things, but these are also, the work plan is more of the things that the commission wants to target and things that they'd like to take on tasks to try and improve the city or improve the specific commission, if that makes sense.
Are there any questions?
So what can we actually do? I mean, we have these ideas and stuff here, but as a commissioner, I mean, this is only my second time, but I mean, what do we actually do here? We have these things written down and we didn't do anything from 2024, it looks like, and we're just extending them to 2025. What can I actually do? Can I go and get ideas from fish waste removal or whatever and like present them to you? Or, I mean, what's the actual process here? Do I need to go walk down there and look and say, hey, it'd be nice to have another DOT sign or something here, I mean, what can I do? What are we supposed to do besides just pass these things on?
And it probably depends on the recommendation. I'd say in a small city like Kenai, it's a lot of a team environment. Everybody's doing a little bit of everything. So, in the case of the dock, we have a lot of work with the Parks Department and with the Streets Department maintaining, the dip netting access in the dock and all these various types of things that happen during the summer. So I would say, if there's recommendations that you'd like to make, things that you think we can happen, you can certainly bring those suggestions forward and we can review them with the city. It might be something that we want to try to incorporate into our budget next year. If it's a special project or something like that, it might be something that's just in our operating budget, that we need to go purchase some signs and have those installed by our streets department. If it's something larger, like a capital project that's going to cost $100,000 that we want to move in, then that requires a little more vetting and passing through administration and getting approval on those types of things. So it can really depend on what you guys want to do with the Harbor Commission. Things like doing a survey and trying to find out, what the users want and what type of things we can do can go a long way, I suppose, with trying to find what the users actually want, whether we need to make improvements or whether we don't. We're doing things like the Parks and Rec master plan is just kicking off and they're going to get tons of, the goal is to get like 500 users to provide surveys for what's going on in the Parks Department and what they need to do to make improvements. So, I'd say input can go a lot of different ways in the city with lots of, tools at our hands. It's just a question of what you guys want to do with it. Helps.
So, yeah, that makes sense, but like, how do we work on this stuff if we can't talk about it outside of this setting and whatnot, like going forward, do we just like decide next meeting or this meeting, we're gonna choose our top one that we like there and be like, this is something we want to work towards, not just something we're putting on paper. It would be beneficial to everybody. We all agree on it, and then we divvy up how we could accomplish it, or, you know what I mean? Like I just don't know the step to go. I understand, like, if it's something larger, we're going to have to go to the city council. If it's, like, obviously DOT or whatnot, that's going to have to be approved. But if I just, what's the next step?
These are recommendations to administration, as an advisory committee, so we don't actually implement anything at all. We are kind of a think tank for the harbor. And as things come up that you see or things that, you have citizens that speak to you about it or whatever, we bring it back to this body and discuss it as a body. And that's how they get put into this work plan that we've had. So if you have something that comes up through the year, like you said, you can call administration and say, this is, just come to my attention, and we can bring it back to a meeting. And then administration, like you said, they'll go from there, so.
So these things that didn't get moved in 2024, when do we just scrap them? If it's been presented for a year and you guys aren't picking up on it, maybe it's not needed, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I'm just,
I think this is a new system that they've just started, and I think the implementation of this took a little bit longer probably than we had planned. We had a couple meetings that we didn't have quorums to do our work and stuff, so I think that's why we're put back to this point here, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it has actually been kind of, for our committee, not having a full committee is, having to kind of kick it down the road a bit, so. But if you have ideas, like I said, keep them in mind, and we'll definitely discuss them again as a group and go from there.
I'll add, if you want to come and discuss something with me, it's not like we can't talk about Harbor Commission outside of being at the Harbor Commission. You're all free to email each other and have discussions. I won't speak specifically. You should talk to Shelley in the clerk's office about the specific rules for when you are allowed to talk about city business. I can't remember the exact numbers on how all that works. I believe it's no more than like 3 people together in a room, but so it's not like work can't proceed or you can't do things in relation to the Harbor Commission outside of just sitting here in this meeting.
As it's my first day and I just had a nice introduction with Shelley today, I guess I would like a little more clarification on the sense of kind of what you're going off of is we have these initiatives, these new plans, for example, this, fish waste. How far into the discussion are we allowed to go sitting up here? Is it kind of like we're looking at the broad aspect of it, we're going to vote on it? Or could I bring up, ideas on this plan that, it's very broad overview, kind of what is going to be the nitty gritty of it, how is it going to play out, what is this disposal going to look like, what my point of view is versus, others, like, does that happen here with us, or is this going to be like an outside of the committee sort of thing?
I guess I'm struggling with how to answer. So I think that can vary a lot. I'd say we can certainly discuss ideas and review them. It's going to be people like the Parks Department that's going to have more boots on the ground and know how all those things work. So, we could look at bringing other people in to have those types of discussions. And I think it even, it's hard being an advisory commission where I'd say, like you're saying, you're not specifically authorizing anything because you're just an advisory commission to make recommendations. So I think that it even noted on the board that, when they wrote this approval back in August, it said some of these goals have the potential of extending beyond the current purview of the Harbor Commission. In this early stage of gathering information for discussion, the administration is supportive of these preliminary goals. So I guess I'd say that there's a lot of things in this work plan to do, and some of them may be good, some of them may be less, that you're not really going to get a whole lot of effect out of them. But I think that's for you guys to determine where you want to put your efforts forward and whether some of these things need to stay on this work plan for the following year or whether you want to grow it or how you want to change it, if that makes sense. Sorry, I feel like I'm saying that a lot.
No, it does make sense. It's more of like, you have this kind of broad overview of what this plan they want to happen, and then, it's been on the schedule for last year, now this year, and we're pushing it along. It's kind of like, how could we, as a committee, as an advisory board, go through and kind of progress the steps into actually planning, like passing something that, overall this looks, it looks like a promising kind of step towards keeping our beach clean. But, how could we sit up here and be like, the implement of this might not be the direction to go, it could be this. Does someone have to bring that into us and then we agree on it? Or is like, how could I guess I be the voice or one of us be the voice to go ahead and kind of get that ball? Is it just like, I'm gonna have to take my own time, which is fine. I would take the initiative to go out and gather that information, have people come in or whatnot. Yeah, I hope I'm being pretty clear.
For the most part, so we have a capital projects plan that is approved every year also. And so when things really become an implementation in that, then they're moved to that capital projects, if I'm correct on that. The council it basically at that time votes on it and approves the funding and everything for it. This is kind of a starting place for some of those, but it may take it a while for that to end up in that place. We've got on here a harbor use survey. That is probably an invaluable tool for us as a Harbor Commission to see what that survey says. So I would say that that would be probably a really good one to start with for our group, and then to go from there. A lot of these other ones are, I think that they're already aware of, but that one, in my opinion, would be a good one. That's the harbor use questions.
So how can we do that then? Do we just meet with you and say it'd be really nice to, I mean, anybody can set up a Google Forms and a QR code where someone can scan something as they're going to the harbor, like, how do we make this better? And then you can get, months and months of, or at least a year of data or ideas from people, but how do we go forward to, because, yeah, I just can't put a QR code down there, but that sounds like a really good idea, and a way to progress some stuff.
I believe that once we approve these goals, that they can begin to shape and move forward. But as a group, not having them approved yet, these were all ideas. It was kind of a splatter test for everybody that brought it through, and we worked through several of them. So once we approve these goals, then I believe that you're going to see some of these things happening for us. So, and then we'll see them again, not these, but we'll have that opportunity within the next year because of how long we've taken on this one to revisit and add more. We'll go through the same process. So, and we take all the ideas that come to this commission and submit them as a group.
And I'll just add that, obviously, nothing was done on the previous calendar year, but it was also basically, the work plan was approved. There was no meetings, and then it was kind of, the meeting was write the work plan that say nothing happened, and now we're kind of getting started on the new year. So I don't think it's necessarily something to say that we put a work plan together and nothing happened on it, but it was just kind of late in the process.
Is there any more discussion? Is all right with it? Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and call for a vote on the main motion. I'm going to ask for unanimous.
Yeah.
Did she request unanimous? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, unanimous consent has been requested. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion is approved. Dr. Frey, may we have your report, please?
Thank you. So things that we have going on right now with the harbor, we shifted some funds from some leftover state grant funds. We had about $355,000 that went to some various improvements down at Spruce Street and some bathrooms down by dip netting and things like that. So there were still some remaining funds that we just moved over to the dock. The purpose of those funds is going to be building new floats for the dock down there. So this week, last week, I was working on getting some quotes for new dock parts and new lumber and new floats. And we're currently looking at having the city maintenance and street staff kind of work on building those when they have some free time. If we would have had the materials here, 2 months ago when it wasn't snowing, they would have had a lot more free time. So we'll see how long it takes to get everything here. But the plan is to start working on building some of that stuff in-house, save the money where we can. And then once we have everything purchased at that point, we'll use the remaining funds to look at improving some of the concrete ramps. Excuse me. Some of the condition of the ramps, it's those concrete kind of blocks that are set in a row are getting pretty deteriorated, so we're looking at trying to spend the remainder of the funds to replace some of those ramps so that it's a little easier putting your boat in the water down at the dock. So once we get all the pieces and parts going for the float, we'll have an idea of how much money we've got remaining that, and we'll look at possibly putting that out to bid this fall, but it may not be till next spring that we're actually able to do some of the concrete work. So that's it for kind of the city funds. On the Bluff side of things, the project is moving forward with that. I'm doing bi-weekly meetings with the contractor for that project and the Army Corps of Engineers. Just kind of going through various things on the project. The Army Corps of Engineers essentially is managing the Bluff project at this point, so we're just kind of along for the ride. But we're doing some reach out with some of the seafood processors right now and talking about access for boats getting through there while all the construction is going to be going on. All of the rock for the project has already been manufactured. It's in Sandpoint, Alaska, so it's all just sitting there ready to be loaded up on barges and moved in here. And they're looking to get started, I believe, on May 16th is when the permits allow them to start working on in the water there. And that's what I have. Any questions? I'm available.
I'm wondering if the webcam will be set up for that project.
That I don't know. I don't know what's available from the dip netting cams, but I can ask about that.
It'd be pretty interesting. I mean, I can watch a boat for a long time, but I don't think I can sit there all day. So, sorry. Anyways, all right. So I just wanted to welcome our 2 new members, and I'm glad that we're back to a full board. And I believe that we'll be moving things much quicker without our lapse in our meetings. And so we welcome you. It's good for me. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad there's not 16 feet of snow out there for me. So, yep, that is my very short report. Councilmember Cassina.
Thank you. We've had several meetings since the last Harbor Commission meeting. But I'll just go through the last 2 meetings and a joint work session we had with Kenaitze. And again, I guess as I do these from each meeting, if there are things that are more interesting to this commission and less interesting, please let me know. The last thing I want you to have to do is sit through stuff you don't care about. So, but I'll go through the meeting we had on the 5th. We had a couple new hearings. So we approved a facility assessment for the emergency services building. So rather than replace some flooring, we're going to look at an overall plan for that emergency building and what's a long-term good choice for that. We adopted resolutions for several new vehicles, including some for the senior center and solid waste. Thank you. The new job you do. Yeah. And then we had some new business, including approving the airport commission work plan for 2025. So the same thing we heard from the airport commission and what they were planning to do, and we approved that. So, and then there was some discussion about an expansion to the senior housing construction on Redoubt. There was a whole bunch of senior housing built, and the city has partnered with them to give some land to do some more of that. In January, we adopted a new restaurant concession agreement, so there should be a new restaurant going in for the airport. It's a bakery that was at the Blasey Mullins moving in there. We adopted budget transfers for the dock float replacement and ramp repair. We adopted the city's capital improvement plan for 2026 to 2030, which, if you have an opportunity to look at the minutes from that meeting, to get that would show what capital plans or projects, if any, were for Harbor Commission. And approved a request to the state designating the Upper Cook Inlet East Side Setnet Fishery as an area impacted by economic disaster. And then for new business in that meeting, we confirmed Dominic is a new Harbor Commissioner. So, and before that, is it Dominic, right? Yes. Yeah. And then before that, we had a joint work session with the Kenaitze Tribal Council to talk about projects that they had going on. So they have a new school. You've probably seen the school building, but they're actually going to put that, open that as an operational school in this next coming school year. That it got approved by the school board. And that's, I think, K through 3 for now. They are working on a new senior housing development off of Redoubt, that corner of Redoubt and Forest that was undeveloped. They've started work on that. And they talked about their 2 new buses that'll have a bus route from Nikiski to Sterling, and then the Kenai Soldotna loop, essentially. And so those vehicles were getting vinyl wrapped at the time, and I think they have every intention of having those up and running within the next couple months. So, if you have any other questions or there's information that you're interested in hearing, please let me know. And thank you, and welcome everyone.
All right, thank you. Any questions, Councilman? All right, great. Moving on. Are there any members of the public who'd like to address the commission at this time? Is there anyone online?
There is not.
All right, thank you. Please note that the next meeting is March 10th. Is anyone planning to be absent for that meeting or attending remotely?
I'll be attending remotely.
Okay. All right. And I will probably be attending remotely myself. Yeah, Board of Fish. So I may be able to leave. I got to go to Anchorage that day, so I may be able to leave late after this meeting, but. And then everybody else is good? All right. All right, well, Commissioner Reveal.
I just want to thank our new members for joining up, and you're going to have a lot of fun here. You're going to learn a lot about government while you're here. So thank you for joining up.
I wonder, when I first started, we talked about maybe scheduling a time for everybody to go down to the facility and check it out. That never happened. Maybe that would be a time to kind of readdress that, since we got some more members and we're talking about goals and objectives for the next year.
That'd be a possibility. The beautification, we would jump in a van and off we'd go to look at things. So, okay, get that on the schedule then maybe. That'd be great. All right, go ahead.
Maybe we have the new Kenaitze bus swing by and pick us up. Yeah, I don't have much. There's, the only thing that I can think of is the revitalization project that they're talking about down there, and it seems like there's something missing in Kenai. I don't know what it is, but there's probably a great opportunity there. You have the river, you got the view, you got all that stuff. Sort of maybe with the city council, what can you guys do to attract people to want to build down there? Because, not bringing rumors into this or anything, but Cassix bought a chunk of land there, and that's something that Soldotna has that we don't have, and that seems like a huge moneymaker, those microbreweries, and just something to attract those type of, if that's something you're looking for, to help them build and get that business in Kenai. And something like that, an anchor down there, all of a sudden that whole place becomes just highly sought after and beautiful, Just something that's been on my mind, But yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Well, first off, I appreciate everybody's nice warm welcomes. It's definitely a learning curve, and I'm a quick learner, but it's really nice to be a part of something that can help the community and being a new member of the community. So thanks for having me. I'm glad to work with y'all.
Thank you very much. I think we got everyone. I think we're good to go. Okay, so no further business before this body. We are adjourned.